rain is on the way out, but the chilly temperatures will stick around. How cold your weekend will be, plus a look at the frigid mornings ahead.
Thousands of dollars in damage after a Duke Energy equipment issue led to issues like this. New tonight, what the company's promising to Creedmoor residents.
And college football conundrum. Duke's football team is headed to Charlotte this weekend for the ACC championship game. And needless to say, there's a lot riding on it. So let's take a trip to Murph's Turf tonight for a look at all the possible outcomes, including a doomsday scenario for the conference. Let's start talking about the weather, though. The chill sticks around this weekend, but things should stay dry, which is good. Pretty nasty day today, huh? Mostly cold rain if you're in Wake County. You might not have seen snow or flurries where you live, but Roxborough did. Take a look. Just a little dusting, but it's something. Nothing crazy. I get it. Some people were a little frustrated. Maybe this wintry mist missed your backyard. I was okay with it. Mike, just how things go sometimes. Winter weather can be finicky. Thankfully, no guessing this weekend.
No, not at all. And we only had 30s this afternoon. We get into the 40s and 50s over the weekend. And an issue we may deal with this evening, advisory just came out from the National Weather Service just moments ago. Winter weather advisory has been issued for the northern counties that had the weather advisory earlier this morning and last night for the potential for black ice and freezing fog. Temperatures will hover around freezing by daybreak up there. Here's the low clouds over North Hills right now. There's been drizzle and mist and fog, and that's showing up on the radar as well, not showing up toward Durham. But this area here, Durham, Orange County, Granville, Vance, Person County, could have some freezing fog and black ice in the morning. I'll talk more about that coming up in a few minutes. But lows here in Raleigh at least down to about 33, but Durham and points northward could have lows around 30, 31, 32. Now let's talk about the weekend. Overcast tomorrow, 48 the high, 52 on Sunday. Now our southern counties could see a little bit of rain coming up tomorrow afternoon. I'll highlight that with Futurecast coming up in just a few minutes. Sunday, the better of the 2 days, warmer, brighter. Our high temperature about 52. The next weather makers on the way. I'll track that coming up in a few minutes as well.
All right, Mike, thanks very much. Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center with breaking news. Another stabbing on the Charlotte light rail system. This happened only a couple of hours ago on the Blue Line just north of Uptown. Charlotte police say that one person was stabbed. That man taken to the hospital with serious injuries, and there are reports that one person is in custody. Of course, it was just a few months ago in late August that Irina Zarutska was stabbed to death on a Charlotte light rail train, making national headlines. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police are still on the scene investigating this one.
I imagine it's being taken very seriously. Brian, thank you. So Duke Energy says it will reimburse the people in Creedmoor, the people impacted by that power outage just before Thanksgiving, the one that had appliances and electronics and even HVAC systems damaged afterward. Duke Energy says this wasn't weather-related and there's no animal interference or third-party incident involved, which means they will take responsibility. WRAL's Heidi Kirk is live for us in Creedmoor tonight. What a relief for some of the folks who were dealing with this, because some of them faced thousands of dollars of costs and repairs.
Dan, this is a huge relief for those folks. Now, some people are having to replace something like their HVAC. That's one of the more expensive items. But even for some people, things like this, a surge protector that's completely broken. Some people had multiple in their homes that they're having to replace. So this, again, a huge relief for those people. Now, today we came to Cedar Creek Gallery, where we're standing now. They not only had damage inside their galleries, but also their production spaces and two different residents here on the property. In fact, in one of those, they had to replace an HVAC system. So as you can imagine, this is costly, and they're a small business. If they had to absorb that cost, that could hit them pretty hard.
We're a very small business, and we operate on a small margin. So, you know, we hopefully Duke is going to cover all of this, and we're not going to have to absorb the cost. We've got lots of time involved in stressing about it and figuring out what's going on and trying to get reimbursed for it. But that's just painful.
Man, you could really hear in her voice, even just having to deal with this, submit a claim online. It's a challenge for these folks. Now, it's worth noting that Duke is still investigating the root of this problem. We're going to keep pressing them for answers. Now, as I just mentioned, you can submit a claim online to get that money back. Dan.
Yeah, and you know, it's been worse for some people than for others. I was struck by a family you talked to that had to move in with their parents, with the in-laws, because the HVAC was damaged during all of this. Have you had a chance to talk to them, to share the news with them?
I have, Dan. In fact, that small baby, we chatted with their family yesterday. That's something that'll really stick with you. They're counting down till Christmas, just hoping that they can get back in their house. I chatted with them just within the hour. They are over the moon that they are going to get that money reimbursed. But, you know, in their case, they're waiting for a part to come in to fix the HVAC. So they're really on that timeline, just hoping to get back in their house and have Christmas morning with their kids in their own space. Dan.
Oh, boy. What a stress to add to everything else during the holidays. All right, Heidi, thank you. Thank you for that report. We do want to say this is what customers need to do if you were some of the people who were affected by this outage. Start by finding this story here on WRAL.com. That's where you'll find the link to Duke Energy's online claim form. You'll fill that out with some information so Duke can then verify that your home was served by the specific line that was involved in this outage. And if you meet that criteria, the reimbursement should follow. It is time for a follow-up question that we got from a viewer asking about this story from Gloria, who wrote in to 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. She said, I've seen power outages, but have never had an appliance damaged by a power outage, nor have I ever heard of a power outage damaging appliances. How does a power outage cause damage to appliances? So thank you to Gloria for sending in this follow-up question. Unfortunately, we aren't exactly sure what happened. Duke Energy told us that the power lines began sagging and that they made contact and that caused the outage. But what exactly happened when those power lines made contact? Why it impacted those homes and appliances the way that it did? A power surge, maybe? Unclear. A spokesperson told us, quote, I would not refer to this as a power outage. So if it wasn't did I say that correctly? Power surge. The quote there said that they would not refer to this as a power surge. So it's a power outage, not a power surge. So if it wasn't a power surge, then what was it? I think the key detail to keep in mind is the fact that the power line sagged and made contact, right? And we have seen what that can do, how dangerous that can be. You may remember back in 2017 when a bunch of fires broke out in Northern California. Investigators later found that at least one of those fires started when two sagging power lines made contact. At least 4 people died in that fire. Obviously, that's a much different situation, a much more extreme example than what we saw happen in Creedmoor because of the problem with Duke Energy's equipment. The point is, though, sagging power lines do pose a serious danger, and you might have noticed that, yes, we did not exactly answer that follow-up question. So here's what we are going to do, Gloria. We are going to take your question, and we are going to forward it to Duke Energy and to some other experts. We know people, and we're going to see what we can find out for you. If anybody else out there has any other questions of any of the stories that we do here in this newscast, please send us an email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Tell us what's on your mind, and we will talk about it right here at 7 o'clock. All right, let's get you caught up on some of today's other big headlines. These are the 5 things you should know right now. City leaders say the Raleigh Convention Center fire may have been caused by a mechanical malfunction near the HVAC equipment on the roof. A temporary roof was put in place before that rain started overnight. That was important. Repairs inside are still underway, and all the December events that were planned there have been canceled. A Roanoke Rapids police investigator is charged with distributing child pornography. The department says the FBI contacted them about 31-year-old Isaac Nielsen earlier this week. The FBI says an undercover officer was the one who caught him. Nielsen is now on unpaid leave. If convicted, he could face up to 30 years in prison. The CDC advisory panel no longer recommending that all babies get a hepatitis B shot at birth. They delayed the vote yesterday after an hours-long meeting. Since the vaccine was first recommended in 1991, infections among infants and children have dropped. The CDC director still must sign off on this new guidance. New here at 7 o'clock, Rocky Mount police arresting 2 men in connection to a deadly shooting. Quadamian Harris Johnson and Vincent Brunson, both charged with first-degree murder. The shooting happened last month on Franklin Street. Brittany McKnight was found dead. Police did not say, what led up to the shooting, and those 2 suspects are in jail without bond. The former House of Art space destroyed by a fire is up for sale now. That plot of land on East Hargett Street in Raleigh is on the market now for a little over $1 million. The space will be cleared with plans to demolish the building to make way for some new construction. House of Art found a new home, we should also mention, but has not released that new location. The program will run out of funding sooner, as early as April 2026, putting the entire state Medicaid system at risk. That is your quote of the day, and it's coming from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. So that was their response, or their warning, after a judge paused cuts on Medicaid funding for adult care homes. The state felt it had to make those cuts, saying that Medicaid is running out of money. A judge disagreed. His order keeps that money flowing out. But if money doesn't start flowing in, Medicaid funding in our state will run dry, putting more than 3 million North Carolinians at risk. I spoke with WRAL state government reporter Will Doran to find out what's next for all of them. All right, well, let's make sense of this. If I'm at home and I'm on Medicaid, what does this ruling mean for me?
Well, short term, it's good news for you because, especially for people in these adult care homes who are directly affected, they're not going to have these cuts. Some of these homes have been laying staff off. They've been having to make some cuts to their maintenance, things like that. So that can all end, or at least, not be quite as rough as it has been. So it's good news in the short term, and we're probably going to see more and more lawsuits from other healthcare providers seeking similar things. But the bigger question is the long-term risk. We could run out of Medicaid funding entirely within just a few months. And if that happens, then obviously for all of those 3 million people on Medicaid, that is a serious, serious problem.
That deadline is around April or May. Is it realistic that we could get to that point and still not have something figured out on how to fund something as important as Medicaid?
Well, if you talk to the healthcare providers, they're pretty confident that the legislature will be able to figure that out. But if you talk to Governor Stein, he's not so confident.
I called them back. They refused to come back to do their basic job. So I will keep calling on them to do their job, make sure that our healthcare system continues to work.
We were supposed to have a budget in July. It is December. We still don't have one, and the legislature has said that they're not even going to start trying until early 2026. And obviously, April or May could sneak up pretty quickly on them.
What happens if we run out of money? You're talking about millions of people who won't have their health care funded.
Yeah, it's a real problem. But with that being said, it's really hard, no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, to see the legislature just tell 3 million people, hey, you can't go to the doctor anymore. That's probably not going to happen. The good news is, even if they aren't able to reach a budget, reach a deal on Medicaid, we do have savings. And there's a specific savings reserve for Medicaid. It's got hundreds of millions of dollars in it. We could tap that if they haven't reached a deal. Now, Governor Stein has asked for permission already to get into this fund because he needs the legislature's approval. They have not given that to him, but come this spring, if we still haven't reached a broader resolution, that could be a much more attractive option.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
The Duke Blue Devils could win the ACC championship, the first straight-up conference title since 1962. But a W for Duke might be an L for the rest of the ACC. We're going to ask Brian Murphy why he's calling this a potentially doomsday scenario for the conference and a trip to Murph's turf. The Duke Blue Devils are in the ACC title game this weekend. Who'd have thought? The team went 7-5. People in Durham might be rooting for them, but the odds are the ACC, the suits who work for the conference, probably are not. WRAL investigative sports reporter Brian Murphy has called a Duke win this weekend a doomsday scenario for the ACC. But why is that exactly? Ashley Rowe went to Murph's turf to find out.
Murph, a big game this weekend. Set the stage for us with Duke.
Yeah, actually, Duke is playing for their first ACC title, outright ACC title, since 1962. They shared a title in 1989 with Steve Spurrier as head coach, but this is a chance for them to go to Charlotte, beat Virginia, and be the ACC champions all by themselves for the first time in over 50 years.
This is a huge deal for Duke fans, but they may not automatically get into the college football playoffs, which is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, most people think that the ACC is guaranteed a spot. Their champion is guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff, but that's not true. The 12-team college football playoff only keeps spots for the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. And if Duke wins with their 5 losses, they may not be one of the top 5 highest-ranked conference champions. In fact, they're likely not to be one of them. You might have North Texas. You might have James Madison. Maybe UNLV. Teams you haven't even thought about playing for a college football title may be in the field, and Duke would be out.
So Duke may not make it to the college football playoffs. You've talked about this as being sort of the doomsday scenario. Why is it the doomsday scenario?
Well, it's a doomsday scenario for the ACC, right? This league has fought and fought to get at that top echelon of college football and prove that they are a college football conference. And then in the second year of the college football playoff, your champion is out. And this would be a doomsday scenario, as I've said in the past, for the league, the reputational harm, the financial harm that it would do to the league to not have a team in the playoff. And that matters when it comes to television viewership or your next television contract, rankings, what kind of recruits you can attract. If others can say, well, look, you're not even going to go to the playoff if you win the league, that really has a trouble when it comes to recruiting.
What are you going to be watching for on Sunday?
Well, it depends what happens with this Duke game. But one thing I'm looking for if I'm the ACC is, can Miami find a way in? That would be sort of saving face for the conference if Miami, which beat Notre Dame earlier in the year, can find a way to get in. That probably is going to need a BYU loss and probably an Alabama loss over the weekend. Then maybe Notre Dame and Miami get compared head-to-head, and Miami jumps Notre Dame to get one of the last spots in the field.
All right, we will find out what happens. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, something easier to understand. The weather.
Okay.
I guess. I mean, then again, you are a meteorologist, so, all right, which is not easy to do. Mike, give us an idea. What's the weather look like this weekend?
Yeah, and this just came out. This is something we're going to have to watch for overnight. A winter weather advisory was issued for some of our counties. Kat and I have been talking about drizzle all afternoon. There's still some drizzle out there right now. And temperatures in this region could drop to 29, 30, 31, 32. So from South Hill through Henderson, Oxford, Roxborough, Durham, over to Hillsborough, Chapel Hill, there could be some black ice, some freezing fog, and there could be some icy spots on elevated roadways. So if you're in this area, be extremely careful. And even outside of that area, there could be some locations that dip to about 32. So just use extreme caution overnight and very early in the morning. This ends at 8 a.m. And I'll have more about this coming up tonight at 10 on Fox 15, 11 here on WRAL. Some drizzle still showing up on the radar. I don't think this is going to last the entire night, but the fog will. Water droplets in the fog could freeze on objects in that area. That's why calling for freezing fog. That's Western Boulevard. The visibility is down to about a mile out at RDU, and the base of the cloud's about 200 feet off the ground. We have 34 currently at RDU, and the warmest we were this afternoon was 37, 34 at Garner, 34 at Morrisville, 34 right now in Chapel Hill. So the stream aloft coming in from the southwest will keep all this rain just to our south, but it should impact coastal areas through the weekend, and it will keep plenty of clouds here as well. Futurecast does show that rain from time to time down east toward the coast, and the concern is while we have a 20% chance of rain in the forecast, some of this may jump up and get to our southern counties, maybe Cumberland County, maybe even Sampson County. You see that quick little blip there. So that's that potential. Tomorrow night we will clear out. Now, the next weather maker is coming in on Monday. It's a quick upper level system, cold enough aloft for it to form as some snow near the ground. It's 40s in the afternoon. So if we do see precipitation, it'll be rain, maybe with some wet snowflakes, maybe an ice pellet, but there's so little moisture that it wouldn't be of any consequence. I'll have new model runs tonight. I'll be working tomorrow. Kat will be in on Sunday. We'll keep checking in on this to see if it becomes more profound than it already is. So clouds, fog, drizzle tonight. Watch out for some black ice in spots. 33 in Raleigh, 36 Fayetteville, 37 in Goldsboro. A warmer day than today, but still cold. Our normal high is about 57. We're still below where we should be and just socked in with the cloud cover. Partly cloudy, warm on Sunday, 52. There's your precipitation on Monday, 43 the high, 36 the low. Again, not looking for anything frozen. It will be in the morning on Tuesday with that low of 22, and the next opportunity for rain, Dan, comes next Friday. The morning low of 22 will be rather frigid, and the only frigid start next week.
It'll feel cold. Thank you, Mike. So how are you giving back this holiday season? We have a few ideas for you. One of them comes straight from the WRAL archive as we take a trip back to 1994 after the break. To help give back this year through WRAL's annual Coats for the Children campaign, now through December 31st, we're gathering as many coats and hats and gloves as we possibly can. You find a drop-off location near you, or you can make a monetary donation. Scan that code on your screen right now, or go to WRAL.com/coats. There are so many ways to give back during the holiday season. One of our favorites at WRAL and in the Haggerty household is the angel tree. You take a name of a kid from the tree, and then you bring in a gift to be delivered to that child. We went into the WRAL archive and found a story about an angel tree set up in a local mall, and maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire you. Thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news. Have a great weekend as we leave you with this, your Friday moment of nostalgia.
And I think most people are in the mood for giving. At Christmas time, this is something they want to do.
This tree is a silent witness of the season's shopping frenzy. But once in a while, the frenzy stops as one person plucks a child's name from the tree's branches.
These children are very needy. They've been screened. We know that they will not get a Christmas unless this project is a success.
This angel tree is run by the Salvation Army to provide new clothing for children in need. For Kathy Cook, it's a Christmas tradition.
Giving to underprivileged kids and just helping them share the joy of Christmas.
There are other ways to share the joy of Christmas by helping the underprivileged. Whatever charity is chosen, Angel Tree volunteer Pam Hogue says it's important to touch a need.
I just think it's real important that we be able to, make sure that everyone in the community is taken care of, at least in some small way.
Kathy Cook says she receives joy by giving to her own children, but the joy is magnified when she gives to children she'll never see.
I just feel that it's important that it's the giving season and you need to give to other people besides your own family.
To me, it's the most fun part of Christmas for me, is to be able to give kind of anonymously, to just give, from the heart, and just because that's what Christmas is about.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.